We are now live. Muting my mic. Coming at you from the 37th parallel on America's haunted highway, it's Pixelated Paranormal, your guide to the unusual and the strange.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Pixelated Paranormal, and happy Fat Tuesday. This is episode 270. I am Sean, and of course, with me as always is Preston, sporting some fancy new eyewear.
I can't see shit out of these fucking things.
I would believe it, man.
Yeah, these are my Dicinium Aura goggles, and man, they work great outdoors. Like, you put these bad boys on, and you really see like this hazy black fog around people and animals and stuff, and you know, you do see weird shit around trees. But like, if you're indoors, like, it takes a long time for your eyes to adjust, and I can almost see the computer screen right now, but not quite. But I don't have a lot of speaking parts tonight, so I'm just going to get into, you know, the paranormal vibe and see what auras I see, and you know, maybe I'll see your aura.
You let me know if my aura changes while I'm reading this stuff.
Yeah. I mean,
I've been told
right
I
now,
have a blue aura.
Yeah, right now, you know, your aura could be saying that you're more tired than a big dick bat, but I can't see it, so I don't really know.
Yeah. So while Preston wears his blackout drunk goggles, I'll be at the helm on this episode. And it's going to be kind of fast and loose. A couple of news stories followed by a little chitter chat about some other recent news. But Preston, first and foremost, do you remember how we were talking about a while back? They were wanting to resurrect and clone the woolly mammoth out of extinction.
Yes, and then I saw, when I looked at the notes, and I saw your news article about this upcoming animal. This one's actually not as bad, so I'm actually okay with this one. So I'll let you talk about this one, then I'll give you my thoughts on why this one's okay.
Hey, that's the way it works best. So from HuffPo, the dodo bird isn't coming back anytime soon, nor is the woolly mammoth. But a company working on technologies to bring back extinct species... That's a big-ass truck driving by. But a company working on technologies to bring back extinct species has attracted more investors, while other scientists are skeptical that such feats might not be a good idea. We've all seen Jurassic Park. How about Jurassic Dodo? Colossal Biosciences first announced its ambitious plan to revive the woolly mammoth about 2 years ago. And on Tuesday, they just said they also want to bring back the dodo bird too. They said the dodo bird is a symbol of a man-made extinction. The company has formed a division to focus on bird-related genetic technologies in order to bring some of these back. The last dodo, a flightless bird about the size of a turkey, was killed in 1681 on the Indian Ocean island of Mauritius. The Dallas company, which launched in 2021, has also announced on Tuesday it had raised an additional $150 million in funding. So to date, they've put up about $225 million from worldwide investors, including United States Innovative Technology Fund, Briar Capital, and NQTel, the CIA's venture capital firm which invests in technology. So the prospect to bring back the dodo isn't expected to directly make money, although the genetic tools and equipment that the company needs to do such a task is what they'll be investing the cash in. For example, Colossal is now testing tools to tweak several parts of the genome simultaneously. It's also working on technologies for what is sometimes called an artificial womb. The dodo's closest living relative is the Nicobar pigeon. The team plans to study DNA differences between the Nicobar pigeon and the dodo to understand what are the genes that are really making the dodo a dodo and then the pigeon. So the team then might attempt to edit the Nicobar pigeon cells to make them resemble dodo cells, and it also might be possible to put the tweaked cells back into developing eggs of other birds, such as pigeons or chickens. This would create offspring that might in turn naturally then produce dodo bird eggs. So kind of like we're hijacking already developing eggs and then turning those things into dodo birds, or slowly kind of breeding that offspring into an actual natural dodo. Because animals are a product of both their genetics and their environment, which has drastically changed since the 1600s, it's not necessarily possible to recreate a 100% identical copy of something that's gone. Other scientists wonder if it's even advisable to try, and question whether or not de-extinction diverts attention and money away from efforts to save species on Earth. So with that, Preston, what says you, buddy? Can we just start hunting things willy-nilly because we know we're going to clone them back into existence?
No. Okay, so first off, when it comes to bringing back the dodo, not that big of a deal. Okay, like if you said that since the fuckers were dumb enough to begin with, like they didn't realize that humans were a threat, so they're just like, oh hey Billy, there's a human being right there. You think it's gonna, pet her forehead or whatever it is, and then like they're on this island, and the only source of food was a fucking dodo. So like the birds wouldn't run away, and they just kind of sit there and blink their eyes like a bunch of dummies, and they were just too passive, is what the problem was, right? So bringing this animal back because it's only been extinct since the late 1700s, early 1800s, like
late 1600s, yeah.
Yeah, it hasn't been gone for very long, so it could survive in the modern time and adapt very well. So it's not a big issue. Like you want to bring them back, cool, whatever. It's a dodo. It's obviously not going to do anything. It's the fucking dum-dum of the bird world. Like not an issue. I mean, they're kind of cute. I'd probably want one as a pet. I have my little Jerry Dodo in the podcast studio with me, and But this idea about bringing back the woolly mammoth. So there are other species that they've looked into that they could, theoretically bring back. So the woolly mammoth, the dire stag, and the dire wolf. Now those are all extinct animals that we have viable DNA of that we could easily bring back. But woolly mammoth, okay, so it is thought originally that they lived in the Siberia tundra, so they like cold weather. That's why they had all the long fur, blah, blah, blah. And if we brought them back from extinction, we could just stick them in Russia. They could walk around the tundra. They'd be okay. No, that's inaccurate. When we have found woolly mammoth carcasses frozen in the Siberian tundra, and when we've defrosted them and their remains are so perfectly preserved, and you open up their bellies and you look at like what the last fucking thing they ate, they didn't fucking eat shit that's in the tundra. They ate tropical plants. They lived in tropical climates. So a lot of the environment that they lived in at the time that they were alive, it was close to what it is now in the United States. Like we had cold days, we had hot days. They adapted to that. So you just can't fucking throw them in the tundra and be like, "You're a good dog. They're gonna die." That's the reason why that they went extinct. We don't know the exact thing that happened. Graham Hancock has come up with some really great theories, and most people are like, that guy's batshit crazy, but I think he's onto some stuff. So a lot of the carcasses were flash froze, and the environment in which all these animals lived in changed dramatically very quickly, and that's why they went extinct. Okay, so if you bring back like a fucking 400-pound, 500-pound, 600-pound wolf that's bigger than a Great Dane, what the fuck is that going to do to the environment? That is going to kill the ecosystem that you put that creature in, because it's at the top of its food chain. Like everything else is not adapt to handle that. I mean, that's like a fucking dropping a nuclear bomb in the middle of a forest. Like, don't do it, right? The dire stag is like the
Right.
size of is a deer the size of a fucking moose.
Mm-mm.
We don't have anything that's going to be able to support that in any. It's going to go into any ecosystem and just fucking just decimate the shit out of it because it's like nom nom. Just imagine,
Yeah.
Sean, you're in your little Chevy Tahoe Blazer Taser Mabazer whatever that thing's called,
Mm-hmm.
and you're driving
Nailed
down
it.
the yeah, you're driving down the highway, and you and the wife are listening to a podcast, minding your own business. You're going on some adventure, and the next thing you know, this fucking deer, bigger than a moose, jumps out in the middle of the highway. Because I mean, deer in the headlights. That's what they do, right? And then all of a sudden, your fucking Blazer just explodes into a million pieces because some scientist was like, "Well, we could, so we did."
You just gave the layman's argument that Jeff Goldblum gives in Jurassic Park,
Yeah,
and I love it. Yeah, you kind of took the thought right out of my mouth. I was going to say, what happens when you reintroduce something like that that's been gone for so long into a modern ecosystem? What happens to all the flora and fauna around it? Clearly we're going to be taking away something else's food, or this thing is going to be like, oh, holy shit, I
yeah.
love to eat, chicken in the woods, mushrooms, and just goes to town, wiping out an entire ecosystem in itself. Meanwhile, anything else it ate, that type of mushroom, is now just completely screwed over a barrel. And I think it's fun to think that, yes, we can play God and we can bring things back. But A, everyone's wondering, what about people? And B, why not just dump all that money into conservation and preventing things that are currently on the
Yeah.
extinction list from going extinct?
I think at
But
the end of
like we said
the
before, we're
day,
not scientists.
the research is valuable research because I think that if you can unlock the genome on what makes a dodo, so what genes were flipped on to cause the mutation to cause it to evolve into this species, that a lot of the modern day sicknesses that plague people, where survival of the fittest, and a plague comes in and your
Hmm.
body didn't adapt and it wiped it out, cancers and things like that. Like, yes, we could gear this research toward things like that to finding the cure. So I think it's valuable, but at the same time, like, who do you trust with it? Like John Hammond? No, don't give it to that guy. And how many John Hammonds are there out in the world that are just like, let's make a theme park. You can come see the dodos and the dire stags and the woolly mammoth. We got the unicorn rhinoceros, the woolly thing that was like 15 tons, and we got
The
this. We got
woolly thing.
we got a saber tooth
Right.
tiger. Like, it's just Jurassic Park all over again. So you know,
Yeah, I think you're right, man.
crack it.
We
Know that you
did.
can do it, but don't actually do it. Right. So you know,
Tell me you're going to do it, but don't do it.
yeah.
Yeah, I think we're just messing with something that, we're way in over our heads on and don't think about the consequences. Well, buddy, switching gears here, remember how a few weeks ago we talked about how a nursing home had declared a woman dead and then put her into a body bag and delivered it to a funeral home only for that lady to wake back up completely alive?
Yeah.
Well, pal, only a few weeks after the first incident happened in Iowa, lightning struck again, this time in New York. An 83-year-old woman was found breathing after her body had been stuffed into a body bag and delivered to a New York funeral home. Just days after an Iowa care center was fined over $10,000 for a similar event. An 82-year-old woman was pronounced dead at a New York nursing home. See, I don't know. I've already got conflicting thoughts here because the headline says 83. Anyway, we're going to go with this. An 83-year-old woman was pronounced dead at a New York nursing home, but then found to be alive and breathing 3 hours later at the funeral home where she'd been taken. The woman was pronounced dead at Water's Edge Rehab and Nursing Center in Port Jefferson on Long Island at 11:15 a.m. Saturday. The woman, whose name was not released, was then taken to the O.B. Davis Funeral Home in Miller Place at 1:30 p.m. Police said in a news release that she was discovered breathing then at 2:09 p.m. The woman was taken to a hospital. No update on her condition was available. Authorities in Iowa said a 66-year-old woman was declared dead on January 3rd at Glen Oaks Alzheimer's Specialist Care Center in Urbandale, where she was receiving hospice care. This woman again was placed in a body bag and taken to the Ancurie Funeral Home and Crematory, where workers then had discovered her breathing and called 911. She was then returned to hospice care, where she passed just 2 days later on January 5th. I don't know how you can do it again, but
I would have been, if I was that funeral home, I would have been like, "Are you sure? Because we're not doing this again."
Yeah, I wish Steve was back with us. He could probably weigh in on how often this might happen, but I mean, I'm sure it happens more than you think, and we just see a couple headlines here and there, and that's why it's so knee-jerk to us, but come on, there's got to be some better protocols going on here.
Yeah.
Well, let's get to the main crux of the episode, Preston. On this episode, why don't we keep the topic on the news, but let's chat about all these UFOs, UAPs, and fucking Chinese spy balloons, shall we?
Yeah.
This one may be a little dry and a little wordy, folks, but stick with us because I think there's a lot of interesting stuff to be said about this. I mean, that's all I've seen over the last month is me just watching headlines of, weird object in the sky. The government's detected a UAP. It might be a Chinese spy drone. And hell, just a few weeks ago, Russia claims they shot down a UFO as well. So, I mean, your eyes are already, set on these headlines, and then 3 more popped up. So I don't know. It's become so wild to me that in the last 2 to 3 years, the word UFO and UAP has not only become acceptable and an acknowledged word in the common vernacular, but it's pretty much become so well talked about. You see these things in the headlines just as much as the Kardashians. And this all kind of started back publicly when it was released that the U.S. government actually did have a program that was dedicated to the study of UFOs called the Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program, aka ATIP. Now, of course, we found out about this after it was shut down. This program went on between 2007 to 2012, but I mean, they blew a budget of about $22 million US. Well, with that, things really come to a head back in 2020 when the Pentagon went on to officially release 3 videos taken from the cockpits of fighter jets showing unidentified flying objects moving in bizarre and mysterious ways. And of course, these 3 videos are referred to as the Pentagon UFO videos, aka the Tic Tac and gimbal videos. And presto, you gotta remember these, right?
Oh, yeah.
So back on November...
Especially the Tic Tac one.
Oh, yeah, super bizarre. Back on November 14th, 2004, a fighter pilot commander named David Fravor of the USS Nimitz Carrier Strike Group claims that he investigated a radar indication of a possible target off the coast of Southern California. He goes on and says the operator had told him that the USS Princeton, part of the strike group, had been tracking an unusual aircraft for about 2 weeks prior to the initial sighting. The bizarre aircraft would appear around 80,000 feet before descending rapidly towards the sea and then stopping right about 20,000 feet up in the air and then just hovering stationary in its place. Well, Fravor reported that he saw an object, white and ovoid shaped, hovering above an ocean disturbance. He estimated the object was about 40 feet long. That's right about the size of one of, our Hornet fighter jets. Fravor said he and another pilot, Alex Dietrich, said in an initial interview that a total of 4 people, 2 pilots and 2 weapons system officers in their back seats of the 2 airplanes, all witnessed the object for about 5 minutes. Fravor said that he spiraled down to get a closer look at the object, where the object ascended, mirroring the trajectory of his plane, until the object disappeared. Then a second wave of fighters, of course, took off after. This would be Lieutenant Commander Chad Underwood. He took off from the Nimitz, chasing after the object. But unlike Fravor, Underwood's fighter was equipped with an advanced infrared camera, aka FLIR, and Underwood would go on to record in his FLIR video the video that was coined the Tic Tac UFO, to then be described as an infrared image but he himself didn't see the object with his own eyes. And of course, you fast forward to 2014, 2015, another motorcycle went by my house. Fighter pilots associated with the USS Theodore Roosevelt Carrier Strike Group were operating off the coast of the east coast of the United States when they recorded the gimbal and go fast videos reporting again strange UFOs, which the pilots were unable to identify. So lots and lots of really bizarre shit going on.
Yeah.
Well, the videos and objects are undeniable, and so sorry, start over. The videos and objects were so undeniable and so hard for the government to ignore, they finally had to pop up in the news, and we were formally addressed by the Pentagon that yes, there is a such thing as a UFO. But unfortunately, the word UFO gleamed a little too far into the realm of little green men. So again, we split the difference, and now the government admits that there are UFOs. We just have to call them UAPs, which is really annoying to all of us little sci-fi nerds.
And only 5% of them are actual UFOs.
Right. But hey, I mean, all I need is one, right?
Yeah.
So then as the year went on, we see more and more people continuing to come forward. And due to the rising number of military personnel alone coming forward and saying that they have formal stories of what's going on, our government has to start keeping track of the reports again. And in the following year, 2021, Congress mandates the creation of an assessment on UAPs. Part of the report requires the Director of National Intelligence to identify 144 first-hand accounts of UAP sightings from military aviators and government sensors that occurred between 2004 and 2021. So again, very wordy and very lofty, but holy shit, our government is finally admitting there might just be flying saucers. But before you break out your Reynolds wrap or diamond foil to make yourself a shiny new hat, the reports are structured, and they first set out to identify several potential explanations for the UAPs, including clutter. That's an umbrella term that includes several or large groups of birds, balloons, and drones. Other explanations include natural atmospheric phenomena such as ice crystals and thermal fluctuations, as well as secret technologies being developed by the US or other nations. But the last term there, presto, other secret technologies, that's the one that draws attention. With the U.S. military shooting down a number of balloons and unidentified flying objects in the last week, and of course Russia claiming they shot one down too, that's one of those things that makes you go, So, of course, countries like China and Russia can gather a significant amount of intelligence using satellites, but balloons and potentially other technologies, as yet unknown by the U.S. public, represent another way to collect sensitive data. And if the U.S. military or government can't identify new technology, that in itself is an easy way to claim this, my friend, is a UAP. But anyway, the number of sightings continue to rise, just like this fucking inflation and the price of tinfoil. And in 2022 alone, the Pentagon received 247 new UAP reports, about half of which were eventually attributed to balloons or, quote, balloon-like entities. That's right, folks, more fucking balloons. So that brings us to tonight's episode's main topic. Let's talk about balloons for a second, and also the other 3 UAPs that were shot down over or near the U.S. airspace over the last month. Since late January, 4 different vessels, or UAPs, or UFOs, one of which was suspected to be a Chinese spy balloon, have all been seen in or around U.S. and Canadian airspace and were all subsequently shot down by the U.S. military. Now, some details link the incidents, including all of them occurring within a few days of each other, but there's some key differences as well, with the U.S. officials saying that the objects, which were not all flying at the same height or following the same trajectory or path, didn't necessarily resemble one another. So we're not talking about several flying saucers, 3 feet in diameter by a foot and a half tall. These are all four separately different shaped objects. The first of which was a balloon that entered U.S. airspace back around January 28th, north of the Aleutian Islands in Alaska, according to a senior military official. Now, photos from the later sightings appear to show the craft was an enormous white dirigible with an undercarriage described by one U.S. official that was the size of 3 buses. And holy shit, dude, that's a big balloon. We're talking about a Hindenburg, basically.
Well,
Right?
hold on though, because that right there, that description reminds. Remember when we covered airships back in the 1800s?
Yeah, yeah.
That
You make it sound like we've been podcasting since the 1800s, my friend. Yeah, the
yeah,
episode is called Duped by Dirigibles.
yeah. So this really sounds like. I mean, how do we know it's just like a weather balloon or something? How do we know it's not like those fucking underground Nazis left over from late 1800s that they're still rocking and rolling in fucking airships and dirigibles, and they're like, "Come on, let's go show them we're still here, everybody. Let's go out of the brown mountains in our airship. We got our steampunk goggles. Let's go. Come on."
Right, right. That's a good question, man. It could have just been a nice little modern day dirigible. But this Zeppelin in question entered Canadian airspace over the Northwest Territories back around January 30th, and the balloon then traveled south and re-entered U.S. airspace over northern Idaho back on my birthday, January 31st.
It just
And
hit
then later,
Canada
the White
first
House.
because they're too nice. They're just like, dude, they're not gonna shoot us down. We can just keep going.
Yeah, just blow it back over the U.S. They'll do it.
Yeah.
Well, back around January 31st, it was seen over northern Idaho. And then the White House later went on to say that President Joe Biden was briefed on the same day for the first time about the strange object. From then, in Montana, the balloon traveled southwest through South Dakota and Nebraska, according to U.S. officials. And then our president's administration later said on February 1st, President Biden first ordered the balloon to be taken down if it was feasible and didn't cause any kind of threat or harm to civilians. So, play it safe, folks. Don't just go blasting shit out of the sky. At 11:15 a.m., the balloon was captured over South Carolina and Lancaster as it continued moving southward towards the coast. 2:39 p.m. Footage captured the balloon being shot down over the Atlantic Ocean off the coast of South Carolina. Ultimately, it fell down in U.S. airspace over the U.S. territory waters by a fighter aircraft assigned to the U.S. Northern Command, according to Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin. The balloon was struck by an F-22 firing missile roughly 6 nautical miles off South Carolina's coast. And the Chinese Foreign Ministry criticizes the U.S. for downing its balloon. So, sounds like China actually admitted this was their balloon. Ooh. China expresses its strong dissatisfaction and protest against the U.S. using force to attack civilian unmanned airships. Really bizarre to me to use that kind of term. I'm not trying to be all tinfoil hatty here, but civilian unmanned aircraft, what the fuck? Does that kind of qualify for a drone as well?
No, because drones are still piloted even though they are unmanned.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, the Chinese ministry asserted that they told the U.S. originally that the balloon was an airship for civilian use and accidentally entered the U.S. due to changes in the wind speed and direction, so it accidentally just kind of drifted over the U.S., which is completely plausible.
Yeah.
Well, on February 6th, Navy SEALs swarmed the vessel, and widespread debris filled the area around the downed balloon, and divers and cranes went to retrieve pieces of the balloon. Blah, 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 so on and so forth. An official confirmed that the U.S. assesses that China has overflown surveillance balloons over 40 countries. That's quite a few. And again, we're not here to say one thing or the other, but that is fucking nuts to me.
Yeah.
They said the downed balloon had multiple antennas to include an array of likely capable likely capable of collecting and geolocating communications. It was also equipped with solar panels large enough to produce the requisite power to operate multiple active intelligence collecting sensors. So, odds are, could have been somebody's drone, could have been a spy balloon. But all I know
Yeah.
is, thank God, the good old U.S. of A. shot it down.
Yeah, I've been rolling this scenario in my head for a while now
With your
since
goggles on?
with my goggles on since we shot her down.
The
And
answer's got to be right here.
yeah, if you think about it, as far as technology goes, so was it last year or year before last? It was even in like Kansas and Colorado. There were reports of black winged things that were being shot down all over the place, and then they released like one quick article that said it was a foreign entity drone. Like they didn't say which country it came from. There's just that
Oh, yeah. I remember what you're talking about now, yeah.
somebody's drones, maybe Russia, maybe China. We're not going to tell you who, but look,
Mm-hmm.
we got rid of them. Don't worry about it. Now look, some of the
Mm-hmm.
other drones don't go being all Captain America here and go blowing shit out of the sky, because some of those drones are also ours, right? And
Yeah.
they go on to say that, I mean, these things cost a shit ton of money to make, so they're not cheap.
Oh, yeah.
So at first, China's like, dude, let's see if we can get a drone over the water. Russia's like, dude, let's see if we can get a drone over the water. And our security net across the United States, as far as technology
Mm-hmm.
goes, it's
Mm-hmm.
pretty high. So it's not like, okay, let's just say that this last hot air balloon that we shot down had spy technology on it. This is not top of
Mm-hmm.
the line spy technology. This is like the shit left over from the late 70s, because it's the only thing our security net won't pick up. So it's like heavily
Mm.
pixelated. You're not getting the best information, but we need to test the waters to see what we can get. Maybe, we put some microphones on it and let's see what we can pick up. So I do think that that's a plausible scenario, because dude,
Okay.
they can't keep dumping millions of dollars in drones and sending them over here, and they're just sort of like bam out of the sky. Their economy can't handle
Bang,
that.
I keep it.
But like, dude, a $20 weather balloon, a $50 weather balloon, strap some old
Yeah.
camera equipment from the 70s. Fuck it, let's see what we get. Maybe a hillbilly, maybe some top secret information. I don't know. Let's roll the dice
Who
though.
knows?
Yeah,
You got to roll the dice because if you get snake eyes, it could just be 2023's Roswell.
yeah. But then
Well,
again,
moving on.
the idea about the dirigible though. I mean, the airship,
Mm-hmm.
that one that you talked about, dude. You're not risking, if you're China or Russia. I mean, the size of a fucking football field or two buses. What did you
Mm-hmm.
say? It's a big boy.
It's a big
You're not.
baby.
Yeah, you're not wasting. You're not wasting a roll of the dice on that. So I think that was fucking aliens out of the Brown Mountains that were like, no, we haven't got this baby out in a while. Let's see if it still floats. You know.
Oh, right. Oh, good stuff. Well, moving on, another object was seen late on February 9th. White House spokesman John Kirby later told reporters he said it was a small object, and according to the Pentagon, it was traveling northeasterly across Alaska, and two F 35 jets were sent up to identify just what the heck it was. The jets did another flight early this morning on February 10th, or I should say early that morning on February the 10th, just to learn more about what exactly it was, and they ended up shooting it down. Two F 22s tracked the object. One of them fired an AIM 9X Sidewinder missile near the location of the Dead Horse, Alaska, which is right on the Prudhoe Bay. Fighter aircraft checked if the object was manned and determined nobody's flying that bad boy. It was difficult for the pilots to glean just exactly all the information, and they had a limit on how much information they can gather. So again, we kind of shot it and just hoped nobody was inside of it. Sorry, I'm not trying to not give credit to anybody. I'm sure there's a little more mathematics involved. The object was described as cylindrical and silver-ish gray, and it seemed to be floating. Asked if it was a balloon, the official said, "All I can say is it wasn't flying with any kind of propulsion, so if it was balloon-like, well, we just don't have enough information at this point to make that decision. President Biden had briefed everybody on February 9th and gave the order to shoot it down by February 10th. The prominent reason Biden wanted to have it shot down is for safety of flights traveling at the same altitude. In fact, this thing was roughly at the same height as civilian aircraft. And the president just didn't want to take the risk, so he shot the fucker down. Then we got a third object. The North American Aerospace Defense Command then detected a high-altitude object over Alaska late February 10th, according to Ryder, the Pentagon spokesperson. 2 U.S. F-22 aircraft monitored the object. Then Canadian aircraft joined as it crossed over to Canadian airspace. We gave the Canucks a high five, and fuck yeah, let's go shoot down some UFOs.
Fuck yeah, Maple Brothers. We'll shoot it down.
Is Canuck offensive?
I mean, probably not any more offensive than calling them our Maple Leaf Brothers, but I mean...
Well, didn't Dolores always refer to herself as a Canuck?
Yeah. So, can't be offensive. I don't know. I'm not Canadian.
Send us an email. If we're not supposed to say it, send us an email, please.
I mean, that's why like half of Europe still calls us Yankees. I'm not going to be, offended by that. That's my favorite. That's my favorite baseball team.
Cop out.
Yeah.
On February 11th, following a call from the Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau to President Biden, Biden authorized the U.S. aircraft take it fucking down. So once it gained a high enough altitude, the U.S. F-22 shot the fucker down with another Sidewinder missile. Because you know what, folks? We don't fuck around, okay?
Yeah. But you're giving our president too much credit. Like, shoot the fucker down. He was more like, Dick a bad did and the thing, and then I'm going to tell you, baby, better get it out there. You know what I'm saying? All right.
It's possible. It's very possible.
Hot dogs. Hot dogs.
Uncle Joe's is a little confused these days. Anyway, our leaders, both Canadian and U.S., authorized the unidentified unmanned object to be taken down out of abundance of caution and at the recommendation of the militaries. Canadian and U.S. aircraft were scrambled, and a U.S. F-22 successfully fired at the object, Trudeau tweeted. The object was shot down approximately 100 miles from the Canada-U.S. border in central Yukon. It appears to have been a small cylindrical object that was flying right around 40,000 feet in the air. These objects do not closely resemble and were much smaller than the suspected Chinese spy balloon, and we will not definitively characterize them until we can now safely recover debris, said a spokesperson for the White House Security Council. All right, fourth sighting, February 12th, folks. It just doesn't stop.
Hold on.
High altitude
I had another epiphany. So, there was an author 2 years ago that released a book that was talking about how like Roswell was actually one of the greatest hoax. It was kind of like a cover story, right? So what he said was kind of like how the Pentagon came out last year, and they were just like Trump got in office and nobody was paying attention. So they're like, hey, by the way, 5% UFOs, they're real aliens. We got shit, and it kind of like went under the radar. So like when Roswell happened, like the crash, right? People were trying to figure out like what the fuck was going on, and then they're like aliens. When the government was like, fuck it, let them run with it. Aliens. Yeah, totally. Aliens, crash UFOs, little green bodies. We got it. Top secret, blah, blah, blah. When in fact...
we got it. You want it.
that we were potentially doing what China is doing now, and we were using high altitude weather balloons as spy devices, and to be able to get them to work. Now, look, this is what this guy says, documents that he found that proves this, right? So, right around the Roswell area, one of the last known leprosy colonies was around, and there were a bunch of wee people, midgets. I don't know what the correct term. I don't know what to use anymore. But anyways, the small ones.
It's not midgets, I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, the little people, the little folk, the hobbits. They were like, look, you're dying. You got leprosy, dog, and we may or may not have a cure. But if you do a service to your country, and we put you in this special high altitude suit that's lined tinfoil and all this other shit. It's shiny. It'll protect you from all the radiation. You're gonna go up there.
You'll
You're
be
gonna be
fine.
You're gonna be way, way, way the fuck up there. But it's fine, right? You got leprosy. We're gonna help you out if you do us. Prid quo quo, right? Tit for that. You're gonna help us. We're gonna help you.
Yeah.
You're gonna get up in that balloon and you're gonna see if you can get information from us with these devices. And something happened, and the weather balloon crashed. And when they found the bodies, they were not, in fact, little green men, but they were midgets with leprosy that the government lied about. And they're just like, well, I mean, I guess we don't have to give you the cure now. You caught on fire. So sorry for your luck. Hey, Jerry, come on, buddy. You're in the weather balloon next. Come on. Don't worry about Fred.
I don't wanna.
Yeah, we'll hose him off. It's fine. It won't happen to you. We learned our lesson. So, I mean,
Hose him off.
a lot of the other countries are always 5 steps behind us because we've already made these mistakes and have already done these things, and so maybe China's doing it now.
Yeah.
And they have these high altitude weather balloons with like janky 1960 technology, and they got some Chinese midgets with leprosy that are up there, and then Biden's like, bring it there, blow it down, shoot it out there, and we committed murder on these poor lepers that just wanted a cure.
Yeah.
The cycle
Yeah.
The cycle repeats itself. Come on, guys.
So you're saying this was 3 busfuls of little people with leprosy that got shot down?
I mean, I'm not gonna put it out of the realm of the possibility,
Oh shit, man.
And that's why they were like, whoa, don't shoot it out of the sky right now because we don't know what they're spreading. Like, let them get out there, let them get over the wide open and shoot her down.
Yeah,
shoot her down.
Fuck.
Yeah.
Well, a 4th object back on February 12th was spotted at a high altitude above Lake Huron in Michigan. The object was shot down by U.S. military aircraft, and a senior administration official said President Joe Biden directed that the object be shot down out of an abundance of caution and the recommendation of military leaders.
Hey, did you say elected or erected? Because it sounded like you said erected. And I don't think he said erected.
Yes.
I think he said elected.
Yes, because Uncle Joe can be a little confused sometimes. He said with an erection that it had to be shot down.
Oh,
sir, you got another teepee from your pantaloons there. The official said the object was then shot down. I'm sorry, let's start over. The official said the object was then detected over radar, flying over Montana, and was seen again over Wisconsin and Michigan later on Sunday. The object was octagonal in structure, unmanned, and traveling about 20,000 feet up in the air. There was no indication of surveillance capabilities, but the administration cannot rule it out, so they took the fucker down. A senior U.S. official said the object, like the other 2 recently shot down, is not at all comparable to the suspected Chinese spy balloon that was first spotted back in late January. I like the pattern here. I'm all about patterns, and so far I'm seeing these 2 patterns. A, it's not like the Chinese spy balloon, and B, they're all unmanned, we promise, we think, we're not sure, but we hope it was unmanned, and we shot it down. In light of the People's Republic of China balloon that was taken down last Saturday, we've been more closely scrutinizing our airspace at these altitudes, including enhancing our radars, which may at least partially explain the increase in objects that have been detected over the last week. Who knows? That could actually be a viable answer. Because they've not been able to definitively assess what these recent objects are, the president wanted to act out of an abundance of caution and will protect our security and our U.S. interests, and will remain vigilant. Most recent objects do not pose a kinetic military. The recent objects do not pose a kinetic military threat, but their paths and proximity to sensitive DoD sites and the altitudes they're flying at could be hazardous to civilian safety, and thus raised our concerns. Its path and altitude raised concerns, including that it could be a hazard to civilian aviation. And at this point, we're just kind of repeating ourselves over and over. The object was taken down by pilots of the U.S. Air Force and National Guard. Great work by all who carried out these missions, both in air and back at HQ. As long as these things keep traveling in the U.S. and Canada airspace, we'll continue to ask Congress to get full briefing based on the exploitation of the wreckage, and you can guarantee we'll shoot these fuckers down. No,
Yeah.
I may have ad-libbed some of that.
Well, wonder if
But
it's
the downing of
not Chinese little people that are in them, but like, we covered that story about how they were doing archaeological digs up in the mountains, like, close to the Tibetan border, and they found like those little like small aliens, and they had like the metal like vinyl disc, and when they put them on a turntable, like it had some weird alien language. Like, wonder if there's a surviving colony of them, and the Chinese government's like, look, you have no rights. You're part of the People's Republic of China now, and fucking get in the fucking thing. And they're just like, peace for the greater good.
So they Disney
little
Pixared
aliens.
a couple hot air balloons to 3 school buses and fucking flew out of there, and then the U.S. is like, not in our U.S. airspace. We're taking you down.
Little fucking aliens in your metal disc.
Well, definitely next time you steal 3 school buses.
They're not American aliens. Shoot them down.
Yeah, right. Next time you steal 3 school buses, on the bottom, paint in big, bright letters, not a Chinese spy balloon, and you should probably do okay. Well, sadly, all this UFO talk wasn't the extraterrestrial Jesus. We're at the very end of the episode now. I'm going to get tongue-tied. Sadly, all this UFO talk wasn't the extraterrestrial revelation that we've all been hoping for, folks. So, after the downing of a Chinese spy balloon and 3 other likely benign objects, it's quite the anticlimax for a lot of those of us who love UFOs and aliens, and we're all hoping for something a little more extraterrestrial. But it looks like we might have to wait a little longer before the government opens up the flood doors to all the information we have about little green men, lizard people, flying saucers, and those hot, hot Pleiadians. Rare. And also, it makes me want to ask the question, Preston, and let me put on my tinfoil hat here for just a second. With all the talk of Chinese spy balloons, and balloons in general, and other UAPs, do you think it's a clever way to take back control of the narrative, so to speak? Everybody is looking at UFOs and UAP sightings, and now after all this stuff about Chinese spy balloons, we're going to see, a flying saucer come by, and everyone's going to come out of the trailer park and just say, "Yep, looks like another one of them Chinese spy balloons to me, boys," and then go back about our business. Meanwhile, we're just at the very beginning of Mars attacks.
Yeah, or I think the other thing that's going to happen is we're going to continue on seeing these spy balloons or weather balloons, and I mean, let's all joking aside, let's be serious for a second and pull out the possibilities of what could be going on. Okay, so in the during the Cold War, there was always this fear that with Russia that what do we do with nuclear retaliation, right? Because if they do a nuclear strike, we do a nuclear strike, like we just fucking fall out, 76 this shit, and everybody's losing at that point. And so the government, any government, whether it's the Chinese government, Russian government, any of the world powers at that time really came to the conclusion that, look, we can't have nuclear fallout, we can't have nuclear wars, we got them. But it's more like a dick measuring contest. Like, well, how many warheads do you have? Well, I have 57, and I can press a button, and you're fucked. Well, I got 61, motherfucker. I can press the same button, you'll be double fucked. And we weren't ever really going to use them, but it kept everybody in that war mentality. It kept them in a high state of fear that we need to do this, we need to do that. Production of things were moving along, and it just kept the wheels a turning. So, just let them believe that nuclear war is going to happen and everybody's the better for it. But in the back of their minds, they were like, hey, how we really have to fight this war is chemical warfare, biological warfare. And so we need to start, how do we sneak in a biological weapon without it coming back to us? So let's, start engineering ticks and bugs and mosquitoes, and let's take a virus and let's mutate it, and then nobody can say for sure like it was natural or it's not, and we can just basically wipe out whole populations. So these Chinese spy balloons, weather balloons, whatever they are, let's say that they're just not them trying to test the waters and how far they could get in, but it's a dispersal system for biological or chemical warfare. Eventually, that theory is going to get out there. People are going to start connecting dots because that's what we do. Anytime that we're not given answers, we start pulling shit out of the hat, trying to make heads and tails out of what's going on. And then every time we see one, people are going to start freaking the fuck out. So eventually, what I think is going to happen, regardless of what they really are, just how our minds work with stuff, we're going to start going down these rabbit holes of conspiracy theories and freaking the fuck out, that the Pentagon's going to have to come forward and be like, look, God damn it, they're not aliens, okay? This shit over here that happened on the 25th, that was a fucking alien, okay? And they just came by to say hi. They were picking up a pizza and they were going back to Avalon 5. It's fine. That was not don't shoot that thing down, but this thing, don't worry about it. Like, we're here to tell you what is aliens and what is not aliens. Yes, they exist, okay? Calm the fuck down. Don't piss those people off because they're in a galactic thing and they're going to blow us the fuck up. But that thing, not a Chinese spy balloon. Leave it alone, please, and thank you. So I think, as time goes on, as we see more of these things and we start freaking out more about it and it creates more of an hysteria, that I think the government's going to have to come forward and be like, look, guys, like, yes, aliens are real, and sorry we lied to you all these years. We already told you that 5% of them are aliens, but that 5% over there, that don't worry about that, because... Anyways, I'm rambling, but you know what? The point I'm getting at, maybe. I don't know.
Right.
Let me put my goggles back on. Maybe it'll come to me.
Maybe you lost it because your goggles are too tight.
Yeah.
Well, I think the thing here is, like, number one, it's easy to say that the government comes out and says, hey, there are UFOs. And then they also kind of infiltrate the masses, make up these cockamamie excuses to get you to either think that everything's a fucking UFO or it's all fake. I don't know. But the real thing here to remember, though, is that... Hang on, I think I might have lost my thought as well.
Hashtag Chinese little people aliens that with silver disc vinyl have rights. God damn it, let's fight for them. Quit putting them in the weather balloons, people.
Thanks. Nice recovery. Nice recovery. All right, now let me take the tinfoil hat off here for a second, and I really want to kind of make a really solid point at the end of this podcast. For the last, 4 to 6 weeks, all I've seen in headlines are UFOs and balloons and Chinese spy balloons and another UFO and another UFO. Meanwhile, I just found out today that there was a fucking earthquake in Turkey on Tuesday.
Second one.
Well, yeah, that's what. Okay, so you've heard, at least 6 people have died. I've heard now it's upwards of 8 after a second powerful earthquake. Jesus! After a second powerful earthquake shook the nation. That's right, folks. Turkey's Disaster and Emergency Management Presidency, or AFAD, confirmed the deaths and said that 294 people were injured after 2 incredibly powerful earthquakes struck the southern Hatay province on Monday. That's right, guys. We've been looking at headlines about fucking UFOs and Chinese spy balloons. Meanwhile, fucking 3 enormous earthquakes have ripped through Turkey. A 6.4 magnitude earthquake struck around 8:04 p.m. local time on Monday in the Defne district of Hatay. I hope I'm pronouncing it wrong. I mean, right. I think it's wrong. And followed by a 3-minute later, 5.8 magnitude trembler in the Samadag province. The AFAD on Tuesday said that at least 90 shocks have been recorded since the initial quake. Officials said that at least 28 buildings collapsed as a result of the tremblers. The latest earthquake comes after a 7.8... Unofficial death tolls from the earlier quakes have reached more than 41,000 people. This is fucking bonkers to me, dude. We're looking at fucking UFOs in the headlines, and I had no
Yeah.
idea this is even going on.
So it was like 2.5 weeks ago. I came home and mom was like, "Did you hear about the earthquake?" And I'm like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" So she pulls it up on
Yeah.
YouTube, and so yeah, it was 2 or 3 weeks ago that there was a massive earthquake in Turkey that basically just demolished that city. And then you're saying that it happened again last week or a couple days ago.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah. World Health Organization.
you have train derailment, another train derailment, yet another train derailment, chemical plants
Yeah.
blowing up, and there's all this other shit that's just being. Um, the Wichita Eagle has been posting like a bunch of like bullshit news stories on Facebook, and so I always go and scroll
Yeah.
through the comments, and that's actually the number one complaint on the comments is like, hey guys, what about the earthquakes? Hey guys, what about the train derailments? Like, you're giving us this article about like a 2,000-year-old wooden dildo found in Rome. Like, we don't give a shit. Like, let's talk about real news. Like, I appreciate the levity, but at the same time, there's a lot
Yeah.
going on right now that's being swept under the rug, and why?
Right, exactly. Wichita Eagle, please leave that kind of story coverage to Pixelated Paranormal.
Yeah,
We'll, delve into the wooden dildos. You cover the important shit. And in
yeah.
fact, it's so important. Let's say, real quick, let me take that one again and I'll creatively splice in the stuff you just said. So, how about this? Now, speaking of not taking the bait and letting things get overshadowed and buried, officials in Turkey said that on Tuesday, at least 6 people, upwards of 8, have now died in a second pair of powerful earthquakes that shook the nation. That's right, folks. Turkey's Disaster and Emergency Management Presidency, or AFAD, confirmed the deaths and said that 294 people were injured after the 2 previous powerful earthquakes that struck the southern Haiti province on Monday. That's right, guys. 2 giant fucking earthquakes have rocked Turkey and killed a lot of people, and I had no fucking clue, and I'm sure a lot of people didn't either. A 6.4 magnitude earthquake struck at about 8:04 p.m. local time on Monday in the Defni district of Haiti, and followed about 3 minutes later by another 5.8 magnitude tremor in the Samadag province. They said that at least 90 shocks have then been recorded since the initial earthquake, and officials have said that at least 28 buildings have collapsed as a result. The latest quakes come after a 7 point. The latest quakes come after a 7.8 magnitude earthquake that struck Turkey and Syria, followed by a 7.5 magnitude quake on February 6th. So, let's cut that. I think that might just be layering on the facts twice there. Unofficially, though, the death tolls from the earlier earthquakes have now reached more than 41,000 people. And now you just said what you just said, so on and so forth. So, the World Health Organization teams are supporting health workers in both countries with medical supplies so they can offer immediate care to everyone in need. But what's also crazy is, in addition to the heartbreaking amount of people that have lost their lives, 41,000 people and counting, Turkey's key industries and agriculture have also been deeply impacted, with farms and factories in these regions being completely devastated, being hit by all these earthquakes. So, in addition to all the destruction and death, these businesses that really are key supports of infrastructure to Turkey are facing enormous labor shortages, not only from people being injured and killed, but also people trying to leave the area. So, I mean, who knows what the heck's going to happen after all this is said and done. Like, we look at like tornadoes hitting Joplin and taking out like a city or a town as being fucking just terrible. Imagine a fucking country, dude. That's wild. Tens of thousands of buildings, with more tremors adding to the toll from Monday night, mean homeless people and weary are returning to damaged buildings, and survivors are having to find temporary shelter in tents and cars and hotels and everything else. So the main loss of production is from people leaving the area. I just said that. So yeah, it's fucking bonkers, man. It's fucking bonkers.
Yeah.
And then also, this is really strange to me as well. I mean, there's lots of talk right now. This shouldn't be a political podcast, but fuck it. Like, this is important stuff. We've got the war in Russia going on right now with, the war in Ukraine with Russia right now. two things that are really baffling to me. Biden's over there right now, taking a tour with their president, which is wild to me because I think it might be one of the first times he's really stepped out of the country and done actual like support like in person. But meanwhile, Putin is recruiting like all of its like high school and college kids, like actual students who traditionally, to my knowledge, were exempt from being drafted into a war. He's just pulling everybody. Like, you're no longer able to hide by the fact of like, sorry, man, I'm in college. They're all getting fucking drafted right now, which is just bonkers and terrifying to me. Meanwhile, from what I was reading earlier, in May of this year, 2023, Turkey's first nuclear reactor will receive its first fresh fuel. The Akuyu plant, the Akuyu nuclear power plant, which includes 4 units of Russian-designed VVER 1200 reactors, is expected to be fully operational by 2026. But the progress is happening amid the growing concerns over stability of Turkish-Russian nuclear cooperation. Cooperation. So that's fucking bonkers to me too, dude, right? I mean, one word,
Yeah.
Chernobyl, need I say more?
I'm not saying earthquake gun, but I'm saying earthquake gun.
I'm not saying Turkish Chernobyl, but I'm saying Turkish Chernobyl, dude. All this is fucking terrifying. Meanwhile, let's just consider ourselves lucky that we're just being besieged by Chinese spy balloons.
Yeah.
Yeah, what a somber way to end an episode. I was thinking this one's going to be 20 or 30 minutes, pal, but look at us.
Look at us go, dude. We pulled out the big guns on that one.
We sure did. A little creative editing, and this will be a pretty nice little show.
Except for the people watching it on YouTube, and you're like, what the fuck, guys?
Oh, yeah, yeah. But these
Yeah.
people, I think they kind of get off on seeing us stumble through shit and, again, seeing how the sausage gets made. So,
Yeah.
what can you do? But yeah, speaking of YouTube, again, I'd like to just give a shout out to everybody who's been joining us as I clean my glasses on the camera. Everyone who joins us live as we do this, and also everybody who's been watching after the fact. I mean, some of our biggest numbers are coming from people watching these live streams, so I think this is the way to do it, Daddy.
Oh, yeah. Speaking
Oh,
of
yeah.
YouTube, so
Well,
we're up to 238 subscribers now, so we're up from, whatever. The late night in 7 days already got 49 views. The abduction of Filibrito, where I had a very bad Italian accent, got 52 views. And, the Tale of Montezuma, 57. Ooh,
Damn.
the Ashika Mummy, 39. Go give that episode some love. Come on now.
Mummies need love too.
Yeah, mummies need love too. And then the Christmas episode, even more winter yokai, 69 views. And yeah, so I mean, YouTube's growing. Thank you for all the love and support. And
Hell yeah.
yeah, so
Yep, it's been a lot of fun. I just want to also say, if you're on the social medias, please check us out on Instagram, PXLPARANORMAL. Sorry, I got our Instagram handle confused with Big Dobbs' promo code. Check us out, PXL Paranormal. Jesus, is that right? I'm an idiot. Why am I drawing a blank on this? Again, guys, creativity of editing.
yeah. But look, need a beard, want a beard. You want a beard that's not going to get you, confused for a, Chinese spy balloon? Then, go over to BigDobsBeardBomb.com and use promo code PXLPARA for 20% off your order. Pick yourself up some scents like bay rum, fresh, citrus, mint, sweet tobacco, and classic. And if you put the classic on your face, I swear by everything that's holy and, paranormal, you will not be confused for, a alien midget in a silver suit or a Chinese spy balloon. Like they'll be like, dude, that guy right there, he's a god. He smells nice. He looks nice. Wow, I have a boner.
Are you a god?
Yes, I am, and I owe it all to Dobbs.
I just like,
yeah,
right. Oh, awesome, dude. If you're on the Instagram, please check us out. PXL Paranormal. PXL Paranormal.
There we
If you're
go.
on
We got
Facebook, we are.
We got it
Yeah,
that
look at me
time.
go, Daddy.
Yeah.
I'm doing it. Yeah, man, we broke the 700 club on followers on Instagram. That's fucking awesome. Tally ho and onward to 1,000. If you're on Facebook, please give us a follow. The Pixelated Paranormal podcast. If you're on Apple or iTunes, whatever the app is, please give us a rating and review. We would love to hear what you think of the show. Again, we lost a lot of our ratings and reviews whenever we switched to the new channel. But again, what are you going to do, right? Players going to play.
Yeah.
The show must go on. Otherwise, I want to give a quick shout out to my buddy Seth. Seth does not listen, or does he watch, but he gave me this really badass copy of this little zine called The Desert Oracle, which I don't know how this shit works. It's probably going to be backwards on the camera. But Preston, I'm going to dig a little bit into here. This is from Joshua Tree in California. And this little zine is full of like paranormal stories, local legends, local lore, facts about the fauna and flora. It's really badass. I just got number 9. This has Goldie and the Horror of Anza, the Birdman, Utopia of the Mojave, Noah's Parofo's Desert Dadaism, and some other really great shit. So I'm going to read that, probably base an episode off of that. And I just discovered there's like, I don't even know, 10 years worth of these things floating around out there. So, bada boom. The well runneth over.
Real quick, I went back and I clicked on most popular videos on our channel. Mm-hmm. And the vertical plane, the one I always talk about, dude, 50 likes. All right, that's...
Damn.
I've never seen more than like 6 likes on any video. I'm not complaining. 50's good.
I know.
But we're so close.
Very nice.
We're so close to hitting 4,000 views on that piece of shit. Like, I'm mind blown. Like,
well,
wow.
The thing is, really, a peek behind the curtain here. The shows that I think went the worst during recording are a little bit better after editing, and they tend to be the ones that people like the most. I don't know if it is the fact that we're just two idiots that seem slightly charming with our limited intellect, but I don't know. You know, we are going to be our harshest critics, and the people like what the people like, buddy. So,
yeah, I'll take it. I'm not complaining. I'm just saying. Just saying.
Just stating the facts. Awesome. All right. If you're in the Wichita area, please stop by, see our dear, dear friend Leslie and the rest of her gang at CD Trade Post, Pawnee, and Seneca. I think that about does it, buddy. With that, I'm going to raise this glass and say cheers to the weird shit in the world and those of us that love to talk about it.
And stay spooky and stay on the paranormal highway. The cast at Pixelated Paranormal would like to thank you for listening to this week's episode. Pixelated Paranormal is here to tell you tales of the fantastical, the strange, the unknown. Tales that will move you a little further down the paranormal highway. If you'd like to share your own listener story, we would love to hear it. Email us at pixelatedparanormal@gmail.com. Again, that's pixelatedparanormal@gmail.com. We'd really love to hear from you. Again, thanks for listening to this week's episode of Pixelated Paranormal, your guide to the unusual and the strange.